It started with a few of her favorite plants, but it soon multiplied. Her collection grew into the backyard and eventually traveled to work with her. This meant she had so much room in her heart to care for the hundreds of plants around her. Soon she got me involved in her passion for gardening. I got to help her plant seeds in early spring. As the seasons changed, I watched each one's journey. As the buds from early spring turned into fresh fruits and vegetables by fall. Over time, our shared dedication for gardening made an even bigger picture, helping me visualize the similarities between people and the way to cultivate the good life. Within the seed of desire is everything necessary for it to blossom to fulfillment. Your work is to just give it a fertile growing place in order to expand. This quote by Esther Hicks reflects a broader truth. A meaningful life is not something we stumble into. It is something we must cultivate. Growth demands effort and patience. It is not handed to us on a silver platter. People and seeds have more in common than we realize. Each one has their own journey, yet it is possible we end up in the same destination. Like a garden, life unfolds in unpredictable yet beautiful ways. Though it has many different interpretations, I believe the good life is rooted in individuality, nurtured through growth, and sustained through interdependence. By planting with intention, removing what harms growth, and relying on the ecosystems around us, we create something capable of flourishing in many unexpected ways. Gardening well requires one to embrace diversity and individuality. Taking a glance at every garden in the world, we will notice variations. Gardens begin with seeds, and those seeds have distinct characteristics. Some seeds are small, speckled, and bead-like. Others are like sequoia seeds, the size of an oatmeal flake with the possibility of becoming bigger than a 20-story building. A seed's development relies on three key components: water, light, and soil. Water represents flexibility. Situations we are put in determine the options that are available to us. For those out-of-control situations, we have two options: endure hardship or gain control. One movie that perfectly captures this idea is The Map of Tiny Perfect Things. One of the main characters, Mark, discovers he is stuck in a time loop, going through the same events every day. He uses this repetition to his advantage, helping his dad solve a crossword, saving someone from falling into a pool, and preventing someone from texting and driving. Every day, Mark is given the same exact opportunities, yet he maximizes his options. Everything changes when he meets Margaret. She's the only other character who notices the time loop. Meeting Margaret allows Mark to fall out of the cycle. She inspires him to do spontaneous things such as shaving his head or driving a steamroller. One day, Mark theorizes that most of life is just junk. It is filler. And then there are these moments when all the randomness turns into something perfect. These moments of chaos are precursors to better outcomes. Life is equivalent to hope. It is a sense of trust in the good and bad times, and having an optimistic mindset. I've experienced this sense of trust in something simple yet meaningful. Ever since kindergarten, I've gone to the same school, which I am very grateful for. Luckily, I've been able to keep a similar group of friends, meaning our journeys have been comparable. The last part is soil. It provides the seeds with nutrients. From our parents, we learn our morals, values, and habits. As children, we mimic what we see. Our parents' actions and reactions teach us how to behave and feel, something shown in the relationship between Atticus and Scout. And Harper leaves To Kill a Mockingbird. The Finch family is surrounded by a society where racism and prejudice prevail. Macomb, Alabama is faced with a controversial case involving Tom Robinson, a black man. Because of his race, the trial is heavily biased against him, even with the solid evidence. Rather than feeling the peer pressure to fit in with the rest of society, Atticus is guided by his moral compass. Scout soon follows in his footsteps. She stands up for Tom, even with the hostility she receives from the community. Although water, light, and soil are key components for a seed's development, moderation is the key difference between thriving and simply surviving. Moderation varies from seed to seed. People can suffer from a lack of resources or abundance. With too little, cultivation may take longer, but with too much, people can feel overwhelmed. Burns require just as much weeding and propagation as diversity. Progress is not an upward trend. It is a roller coaster with all kinds of twists. It requires the willingness to endure good and bad times. Those trying times are characterized by resource moderation and, most importantly, weeds. They resemble the unhealthy habits and people and relationships that drain the resources we have worked so hard to build, making it essential for us to learn to cut out what harms us, something vividly captured by William Golding. In The Lord of the Flies, a plane crashes into an uninhabited island, leaving a group of boys deserted. One of the boys, Ralph, takes charge and takes responsibility for guiding the other boys to safety and to survival. One of the other boys, though, Jack, defies his authority, guided by his primal violent instincts. Piggy speaks up against his tyranny, wondering if those in Jack's group are humans or animals or savages. Golding teaches us not to let peer pressure influence our decisions and, most importantly, our identities. Alongside weeding is propagation, the act of removing a piece of a plant in order to improve growth. When I was around 5 years old, I started growing my athletics plant. It started with gymnastics. I remember the bright blue floors and the wood bars covered in chalk. I liked it, but I had to move on. Next was soccer. This one didn't go so well. I was always distracted or doing my own thing. Basketball was next for me. My friend and her mom had been convincing me to try for years, so I finally went to one practice. I tried to like it, but there was too much physical contact. From my athletics plant, I chose to propagate volleyball starting in 5th grade. There were so many things I liked about it. It was indoors, which helped during fall and winter, had less physical contact, and had a balance of teamwork and strategy. After a game in junior high, my team and I took a picture, which we were able to recreate on senior night this year. This sweet memory reminds me why volleyball holds a special place in my heart. Planting these seeds in childhood can lead to long-lasting and meaningful moments. While self-growth is a substantial part of life, one cannot navigate conflict and success without dependence on others. It may make you feel weak, but it is necessary for development. Just as gardens rely on entire ecosystems to continue to thrive, people depend on the care and support from others. In my experience, this has been visible in my home and in volleyball. My family and I have hosted a total of 8 exchange students from Germany, Italy, and South Korea. Each of their families put trust into the world for us to take care of them and give them fun experiences while they are far away from home. They give us new perspectives on the world through their family traditions and cultures. I recall one memory with one of my exchange students from last year, Helen. After arriving in the United States, she made a to-do list. At the top of that list was baking an egg. To me, it seemed so simple, so why would she put it on that list? But thinking about it more, my perspective changed. She put on the list because she did it back at home. It was something she could do that made her feel included while adapting mentally and emotionally to our daily routines. I know it was a big challenge for her and her family to decide to let her come to the United States. So this way of combining something familiar with something unusual made me feel proud of her. In many sports, players have plenty of space to move around and adjust. But in volleyball, movement is confined within the boundaries on the gym floor, with 6 players responsible for their own individual zones. Having this limited space taught me that no point is won by one sole player. Someone must receive the ball, which goes directly to the setter. The setter sets an attack for the hitter, and the other 5 must cover that hitter. Much like in life, growth is an internal process and a shared effort. Gardens rely on the pollinators, which are represented by the friendships we make in life. And The Secret Garden by Frances Hodgson Burnett. She describes the importance of companionship in times of need. Mary Lennox is a spoiled child from India who was forced to live with her uncle in England after her parents died of cholera. She believes she is the only one there until curiosity leads her to a dark abandoned room. Inside, she finds her cousin Colin, who is thought to be too sick to live a normal life. Mary challenges him to come out of his room and explore the garden with her. She wonders if it would do him good to go out into a garden and watch things grow. The garden is a transformative place for both children. Mary goes from spoiled to responsible, and Colin, who is thought to be unable to live a normal life, ends up walking and running. Burnett teaches us that companionship allows people to break out of their shells and do incredible things. The true beauty of life can be found through curiosity. Our relationships are based on trust, whether it is helping with a task, listening, or simply showing up for someone. These small acts of care allow people to flourish like gardens. A fulfilling, well-lived life depends on embracing diversity, seeing the people we interact with, choosing which parts of our life to tend to and which to let go of, and trusting others to share experiences and opinions with. Within literary works, groups of two continue to show these life lessons. Mark and Margaret encourage us to live life to the fullest. Scout and Atticus teach us the value of standing firm in our morals and beliefs. Jack and Ralph show us the effects of making good versus bad choices. And from Mary and Colin, we learn to push each other to do better for ourselves and for the people around us. Growth is dependent on openness. When we share our experiences and opinions with others, we create conditions for something stronger to take root. By understanding our strengths and tending to our plants carefully, we set ourselves up to grow into something meaningful and instead of letting our